Hello everyone, in this video we are going to graph linear equations. They are going to be pretty simple linear equations. So on IXL it's also considered as graphing proportional relationships. Those are linear as well. So we are working on IXL Algebra 1 R3 graph a proportional relationship. So all of these expressions or equations are going to be linear, which means they are going to be in the form of y equals mx plus b. So by looking at the y-intercept and by looking at the slope, you can graph all of them. I will show you that method, and then I'll show you another method. So the first method is what many of you are familiar with, using the slope-intercept form, which is y equals mx plus b. In this form, that plus b is going to be the y-intercept, and then this m, the number in front of the x, it could be a whole number, it could be a fraction, but just that number without the x is going to be the slope. And if it's a whole number, what you can do is just do divided by 1 and turn it into a fraction, so you can see it as in the form of rise over run. Like how many units you gotta go over, you gotta go up, down, left, right, all of them. So first I'll use the drawing tool. I'll draw it. Let me see if I can draw on this though. Okay, yeah, I can. So step 1, make sure that the given equation is in the form of y equals mx plus b. It's y equals m x, but what's the plus b part? There's nothing added, so let's just put plus 0. So when you graph y equals mx plus b, this is your starting point. The y-intercept is your starting point. Just start from that point on the y. So y-intercept, that's y, it equals to 0. That's my starting point. And then do whatever that slope tells you to do. Looking at the slope, which is 10, but remember what I just told you like a minute ago? Convert it into a fraction by dividing it by 1. 10 over 1. Now I have my rise over run. Starting from my initial pink point, I'll rise 10 units, and then I'll run 1 unit to the right, because that number is positive in the denominator, in the bottom of the fraction. So start from 0, go up 10, right 1, then you're going to have this point over here. If this question was on a paper, you would connect those 2 points using a ruler, and then that's it. You have your line. But IXL does it for you. So it says in the question, in the instructions, it says click to select points on the graph. When we click on 2 points, it'll graph the line automatically. So what I will do is I'll hit my arrow over here. That's my first point, and this right here is my second point. And then I have the line. That's it. It draws it automatically. Let's clear everything up. That's how you do it. By using the slope-intercept form. By using y equals mx plus b. Start from the b, and then apply your slope to have your second point. Connect them. That's the first method. Let's talk about the second method. I don't know what happened though. Okay, let's do this by using the proportions. Let's just instead of dealing with the y-intercept and the slope, let's just do this. Y equals 2x. Or so, and then let's keep that over there for step 1. We are going to plug in numbers for x and then find the y values. Let's say the x value that I want to plug in is 0. You can plug in any numbers that you can see on the coordinate plane for x. So I'm plugging in 0 and see what the y value is going to be. So if x equals 0, let's do it. Y equals 2 times 0. 2 times 0 is just 0, so y would be equal to 0. So if x equals 0, then y is 0. That's my first point. It says click to select points on the graph. We are going to draw a line. If you want to draw a line, we need only 2 points. Then we are going to connect those points, or IXL is going to connect those points for us. So the second part, just pick another pair of points, just one for x, and then plug it in. Let's do x equals 1. Isn't that easier than plugging in like 5 or 10? So y equals 2 times, I'm rewriting the original expression over here by plugging in 1 for x. So y would be equal to 2 times 1, or just 2. So if x is 1, then y is 2. I have my points. 0, 0 is the first one, and 1, 2 is the second one, right? 0, 0 is the first one, and then 1, 2 is the second one. You could have plugged in 5, you could have plugged in -2, you could have plugged in -4. It would make no difference as long as what you plug in and what the answer is on the coordinate plane. If you end up with like 20, of course you're not going to be able to graph that one over here on this coordinate plane. But as long as your numbers are within the range of -10 and +10, you're good. So over here, this is my first point, 0, 0, and then 1, 2. And I have the graph. Let's jump a level. Now let's use slope-intercept method over here, and then on the next one, I'm going to plug in 2 numbers for x and then find the corresponding y values. So this right here, if I want to write this as y equals mx plus b, it would be y equals -8 over 1, because you can always do over 1 to convert it into a fraction. So you can see the rise over run times x. There's nothing added, but you can do plus 0. So you see what the y-intercept or your starting point is. If there's no point in the end, you start from 0. Or starting point. So that's my first point. Let's plug it in. Or not. Let's just keep it that way for now. And then what about this? What does that mean? -8 over 1. This is my rise. My rise is telling me to go -8. So by going -8, we cannot rise. We need to go down, right? So and then this is run. If it is positive, it means right. So this is -8 units down, 1 unit right. So these 2 words tell me what to do. So start from your point, which is 0, and then do -8 down, 8 units down, and then 1 unit right. That's it. You could have used the other method where you plug in 0 and 1 for x, and then you would find the corresponding y values, and then you would plot those 2 in. IXL would have graphed it for you. Now let's jump a level, see if it's going to get any harder. Okay, now let's use plug-in method. So I want to first plug in 0 for x and see the y value. So I'm rewriting the equation. Y equals -2 over 5 times x. And I want to plug in 0, right? And this is just multiplication and division. If you multiply a number by 0, the answer is going to be 0 unless you add or subtract something. So this would be equal to 0. So if you plug in 0 for x, y is 0. Basically, the point you have is over 0, up 0. That's your first point. And then let's find the second one. So let's plug in. Oh, I like this. Okay, if you plug in 1, it's not going to work. Let me show you why. Let's plug in 1 now. But if you use the slope-intercept form, it's going to work all the time, by the way, like the previous method. So let's plug in 1. Y equals negative 2 over 5 times 1. So this one here would be equal to negative 2 over 5. But how am I supposed to plug this in? How am I going to graph that fraction over here? Negative 2 over 5. Is that even a thing? Can I do it over here? You cannot. No. That's negative 0.4. There's no way you can figure it out. IXL is not going to let you plot a point at negative 0.4. So what are we going to do? So we are going to try to end up with a whole number versus a fraction. I don't want to end up with a fraction. I don't want to see that that 5 in the denominator. How do I cancel that out? So it's divided by 5. Fraction means when you put a number in the denominator, it tells you to divide. So basically, it tells you to divide the negative 2 by 5, and the way to cancel that out is multiplying by 5. So instead of doing this, not that the points are wrong, it's because we cannot plot it over here. So whatever I plugged in, let's just multiply it by 5 so that our end result, which is this negative 2 over 5, is going to be multiplied by 5 as well. Let's just try. Okay, now I want to plug in x equals 5 so that I can cancel this out, because 1 times 5 is 5 over here. So probably, I know it's going to happen, probably our answer, final answer, is going to be multiplied by 5 as well. So let's just plug it in, x equals 5. I'm rewriting the whole equation, y equals negative 2 over 5 times my x value. Now these are going to be gone. Y equals to negative 2. Basically, if you plug in 5, the answer is negative 2. The point is going to be 5, negative 2. So go over 5, up to, down to, my bad. This is your second point, and the other point was 0, 0. You have our line. Now, for this question, let's use the other method, okay? Let's plug in, no, let's use the slope-intercept form. Over here, y equals negative 2 over 5, x plus 0. Basically, what this tells me, to start from 0, plot that point, start from there, and then go down to right 5. Down to and right 5. Let's do it. Go down to and right 5. You're going to end up at that point. You see, it takes like 10 seconds or so, especially if you're familiar with the slope-intercept form. You don't need to deal with plugging in numbers so that the end result is going to be a whole number instead of a fraction. So there's that, and then let's see if these questions are going to get any harder. I don't think they will. No, it's the same question anyways. So that's it, guys. Thanks for watching. Let me know if you have any questions about this assignment by commenting below. I'll try to respond as soon as possible. Again, let's wrap it up. In this video, we learned how to graph proportional equations. In other words, how to graph a particular form of linear equations. It's not all of the linear equations, because many linear equations have numbers in the end that are added or subtracted. In this case, these are not proportional. For proportionals, you don't want to have any number in the end, which is going to be 0. You're going to start from 0 and then apply the slope, then have your line. Okay, thanks for watching, and I will see you in another video, guys.